So, shall we start?
Yeah, all right.
All right. So, let's begin. I will just give a brief introduction about the organization and Indian Life Science Network, and then we can go into the session. So, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us in our first Knowledge Hub session after we started our server from August 15th. And it's also a great pleasure for us to host this event because for a long time it was a dream for us to connect all Indian life science researchers, students, and science communicators in a single platform so that we can freely exchange our ideas, knowledge, and exposure. And I'm so happy that finally we are this dream has been materialized using the server. So far we don't have as many people as we would have wanted to have in the first week, but I think if we continue to do the right things over the course of next weeks, I'm pretty sure that we will have enough members in our server so that this exchange of knowledge and ideas can take place quite seamlessly. And we are having this event in our Knowledge Hub platform, which is a new way of interacting with people. And Zoom calls have been quite common since COVID times. And there is like a lot of issues with Zoom calls, especially in India. First is the streaming issue with the video and the quality of the video, privacy, and you have to sit around for the entire session. But with this kind of audio only interactive um, platform, you can literally do anything that you would otherwise do, like cooking or walking or exercising, but still be able to interact with the audience without having any issues with the bandwidth. And as our first session, we are having this Let's Talk About iGEM. And I'm very happy that Shubhra is organizing this with help of Shruti, iGEM Asia ambassador. And personally, it is something that I always wanted to participate, but I could never have a chance to organize my undergrad college in a way that we could build an iGEM team. And this has been like some long-standing dream that I always wanted to participate, and I also wanted India to be represented on par with US or any other developed country in the iGEM competition. And one of the biggest limitation for such widespread participation of iGEM is the knowledge, like how to start iGEM team and how to fund it, and every other issues associated with competing at the international level. So I am really happy that finally we can have a session where we could actually have an ambassador of iGEM who will explain us all of these things. And eventually, where we want to get to is that whenever any team in iGEM is participating, we want them to participate in a knowledge hub session with us so that they can share their stories and the problems that they're trying to solve with the rest of the community, so that it's not just that they get the outreach that they want, and so that people can appreciate their efforts, but also they always transfer the knowledge and exposure to the students from other colleges so that we can build a better strong synthetic biology network in India. So with that, I would like to conclude my short speech, and session is over to Shubhra and Shruti. I'm very much looking forward to this interaction today.
Yeah. Thank you, Rama, for these kind words. And we are also very excited for this particular Knowledge Hub session. Hey everyone, I am Shubhra Singhal, an NGSF author and the current team member of the iGEM team of ISA Tirupati. And throughout our iGEM journey, we have been asked a lot of questions regarding what exactly is iGEM and the various initiatives that it has. So we thought that it's no better than an iGEM ambassador herself to answer all the questions. So here she is today. I would like to introduce you to Miss Shruti Sridhar, who is our today's guest of the Knowledge Hub session at this India Life Science Network Discord server. Ms. Shruti Sridhar is the iGEM ambassador to Asia and is an active member of the education committee from after iGEM. And she's an ex-iGEMer herself and the founder of the first iGEM team of her own institute. So we have a lot to learn from her today. And so I would just like Shruti to start off on what exactly iGEM is and like the iGEM program as a whole, not just the competition.
Awesome. So I think I'll give a brief about what iGEM stands for and the values that iGEM has, followed by what after iGEM is, and also a really exciting new venture called the iGEM Indian Leagues, which is going to be launched in the coming year. So a lot of exciting things to discuss, hopefully.
Yeah.
So what is iGEM, right? So iGEM basically stands for International Genetically Engineered Machines. So it's the world's largest synthetic biology competition where teams around the world from high school, undergrad, postgrad, including like teams from Ivy League colleges like Harvard, MIT, etc., basically work together to create synthetic biology solutions to very real world problems. So, over the last 14 years, the competition has traditionally been held in Boston in October. So, all the teams go to the giant jamboree, it's called, in Boston, and they sort of discuss their projects and they pitch it to the judges. And the number of teams are increasing every year, but from this year onwards the competition is moving to Paris. And despite synthetic biology techniques being a very primary aspect of iGEM, there are several other things that goes into an iGEM project, like education, collaboration, human practices. So all of this play like a very important role in your development of your project. So the basic cornerstone of iGEM is that every project is highly multidisciplinary. So your team that you form has people from various backgrounds, different departments, and the whole motto is to empower local people to solve local problems. And you get to choose your own project, whichever issue you and your team want to address, and then you get to design how you want to solve that issue. And so we have like around 6,000 participants from across 60 countries. So it's a group of around 350 teams. But after that, we also have a global network of around 40,000 plus iGEM competition alumni who have gone on to become industry experts and academic thought leaders. So we have that network as well. And so iGEM basically allows you to step beyond science and explore the broader impacts of synthetic biology. So it tackles issues from ethics to politics, and it's a very and policy itself. So how do you bring about policy changes for synthetic biology? And iGEM is a team-based environment where you get to meet like-minded undergraduates and you tackle problems collaboratively. And that's a huge criteria and a very important criteria in iGEM, that collaboration with other teams to help you solve your project. And a
And
little bit about,
another,
oh, sorry,
yeah.
yeah.
So another important question that everybody asks is that who all are actually eligible to participate in iGEM? Is there any sort of eligibility criteria, or like what is it?
So you can be a high school team, an undergraduate team, or an overgraduate team to actually participate in iGEM. So that's the only criteria that is there. And you need to get a principal investigator or a PI. And in some cases, you can also get a secondary PI should you choose. So that's kind of how the team is structured. Apart from that, a lot of teams have to raise funds. So if your institute is funding your iGEM team, that's great. Otherwise, a lot of teams go on funding drives to
Yeah,
help register for the competition.
been there.
Yeah, but that's a huge learning skill on how, and it shows a testament to the project that you have chosen to pitch it to different organizations to fund you. And that also gives you a lot of validation in the project that you've chosen, and you know that you're solving it the right way when you get feedback from
The
investors
purpose.
and people who want to fund your project.
Yeah, exactly. So another important question, like as Rama also mentioned, is that how do we actually begin the process of starting your own iGEM team from your institute?
Right. So I think there are multiple ways to go about this. I can give you my example as to how I went about in my institute.
Yeah, sure.
I come from a engineering institute. So mine is BITS Pilani Goa. So it's more engineering focused with and has concentration in pure sciences. So for
Mm,
me, getting a multidisciplinary team was very easy because I had uh, students from computer science who were interested, students from electronics and mechanical who were really interested to work on a bio project. So it
okay.
became more about creating awareness about synthetic biology. So if you're starting off a new team, I would definitely suggest holding maybe like a seminar or an outreach event where you discuss what synthetic biology is and why it is so interdisciplinary. And that's how you can form the basis of getting people interested. And then you can start forming your team, because as I said before, the cornerstone of a team is that it should be multidisciplinary, because there's so many facets to an iGEM project, and it really helps having diverse thought process while formulating a solution. And
Yeah.
after that, I would say, choose your problem statement, and that will lead you to choose an appropriate PI, and then you can begin your learning curve from there. And there are several materials available to first familiarize yourself with the basic principles of synthetic biology, modeling, wet lab skills that are required, and even dry
Yeah.
lab skills that are required. So I would say that's one way you can go about starting an iGEM team.
Yeah, all right. And some institutes don't actually have these sort of facilities available. So I guess that's where the collaborative part comes in, right?
Absolutely. So one thing that we witnessed, I participated during the pandemic year. So I had wet lab access till March, and then everything was shut down, and I had to come back to our houses, right? But
Yeah.
collaborations was so amazing that you could send samples that you wanted to be run to other teams across the world. So someone from, say, sitting in the US or UK can actually run the experiments for you and send back the results. So that's the beauty of collaboration in iGEM,
Yeah.
especially since you get iGEM kits. You can send those kits across, and they can actually run your experiments for you, and then in turn you would help them with, say, modeling or any other skill that your team was really good at.
Exactly. Very nice. There is also another question that people ask around a lot is that what should be the general timeline of forming an iGEM team? Like, where should one begin? Like, what's the time when one should begin? And how long will it take them and all these sort of things?
Okay, so this again is a subjective question. It's a case by case basis on when to start. But one some of the key milestones would be to note when registration closes for registering your team, when the Jamboree registration closes, and the next one would be your next deadline, which is your safety form. So by the time you have to like submit your first deadlines, that would be a good target to have your team ready, your project ready and up and going. But when do you start before that, especially if you're a first time team, entirely depends on the infrastructure that your institution has, and how you can rally support to starting an iGEM team. So I think that's where it becomes case by case. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I would say just go on the website, start noting down all the deadlines, and then you can get a fair idea as to when you can start beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the ambassador program of iGEM also helps a lot around, right? For the new teams that are coming up.
Definitely. So you can, if anybody here really wants to start their new team, definitely just drop in a mail. I'll share my mail ID, and I can like maybe get on a call with you all, or any of the ambassadors can, and help you start your own iGEM team. There's also a mentorship program that's available, which is really great for first time teams to start their synthetic biology projects.
Yeah. So can you elaborate more on the mentorship program?
So the mentorship program was again started by the After iGEM Education Committee, and we have a mentors network as well as a mentor-mentee matching platform. So first-time teams apply, and they explain as to what areas they really need mentorship in, and we try matching y'all with an appropriate mentor who has expertise in that area and can actually help you through the iGEM journey. So if any of y'all are starting teams, definitely make use of that platform, because it's
Yeah.
a phenomenal resource to have, and the mentor network is so diverse, and you have mentors from all across the world helping you, so that's really really great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is so awesome that anyone can come in and get mentorship. So that's really cool. Another thing is that during this pandemic time, many of the students who are just starting college and their colleges started online, so they're not able to get hands-on experience that is there in the lab. So how important is it for an iGEM project to have your own hands-on experience, or how do teams meander their way around that?
Ah, so this is again a very interesting question, because um, during the pandemic years, that's 2020, and to an extent this year as well, the medal criterias for the iGEM competition were changed in order to accommodate these extraordinary circumstances. But in a normal year, if you do not have access to labs, there is a software track that teams can apply to. So the software track is pure dry lab projects with extensive modeling and not too much wet lab focus. So even if you do have a little bit of wet lab in such projects, you can collaborate with another team and help them out as well and make it a nice partnership that happens. So there is definitely a track called the software track for teams, and there's also another track called foundational and new applications. So if you feel that you don't fit into a traditional track which has a very heavy wet lab focus, you can definitely look at alternate tracks to make your project in.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So it's not just like all biology.
Yeah.
That's one of the key milestones of iGEM that people usually confuse it with. So they're all like, oh, it's just about life sciences.
Oh, absolutely not. Like my team actually had people from economics, from physics, and they
Yeah.
really provided the much needed, different perspective to how you solve problems.
Exactly, because this sort of multidisciplinary approach, because all these tracks that need to be fulfilled, like the idea is to get the project out into the real world. So the implementation part is really important. And
Yes.
there, I guess, these
The
different perspectives.
implementation and entrepreneurship. So, how do you see this project actually being implemented in the market and in your country, in your region? So, all of those things are something you need to think about when you're making a project.
Yeah, exactly. These are very important points to look upon. So, can you elaborate more on the sort of human practices that iGEM projects are usually associated with? This is a question that we have been asked around a lot for the outreach programs and all that we conduct. So people are like, "Oh my God, they're so diverse. What should we do?" Everything.
So human practices is I for me personally was one of the best aspects of iGEM.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
human practices actually allows you to go and talk to stakeholders about your project. So I think I'll explain human practices through an example. The project that I worked on was to reduce post harvest sugar loss in sugarcane. The first thing we had to do sort of identify our stakeholders. So we realized it was farmers, it was mills, and it was other companies making competitive products, and it was also researchers who were actually researching this topic. So we
Mhm.
started approaching them and talking to them and pitching our product and project idea to them, but more importantly getting feedback about our project. So when we were thinking how do we make a delivery system for our project, we went and spoke to farmers and understood what sort of delivery system would actually work and implemented that back in our project. So that's key. Once you get feedback, how do you implement this feedback and what design iterations are your project going through? So that's the key thing about integrating human practices into your project and
Yeah.
making it a human centric design, because at the end of the day humans are going to use your product. How do you make it as holistic and inclusive as possible?
Yeah, exactly. Inclusivity is a very important aspect I think iGEM has been focusing on. And personally, for me, it's one of the best things. I mean, usually people don't talk about it, but in iGEM, it's like everybody wants you to do stuff that is more inclusive. So that's just really awesome to see. And yeah, so can you shed more light on the collaboration and partnership parts of an iGEM project? Like, how important are they? Because I feel that sometimes people undermine their importance. Like, it can actually get you started a lot.
Definitely. So that the different types of collaborations you can have, uh, technical or non-technical, and just outreach collaborations. So technical collaborations directly translate to your project. So if you have a doubt with modeling, but you know a previous team who's worked on something that's allied, or a current team that's working on a similar project, you can reach out to them and collaborate on how best to do that aspect of your project. So that's a technical collaboration. A non-technical can be anything, can be from making science more accessible, inclusive, and having outreach sessions with other teams. So there are multiple collaborations you can do. A partnership, on the other hand, according to the medal criteria, is a lot more involved. So a partnership
Hmm.
is is two teams who are together throughout the entire iGEM journey. So it's a lot. It's one level higher than a collaboration in the sense it's that much more involved and integrative for both teams that are involved in that partnership.
Yeah, okay. That's nice. And another question is that how can an individual be part of the iGEM program and like the after iGEM program and all these other various initiatives that iGEM has? So how can they actually approach this and become a part of them?
So again, here I would say there are two ways. So if you are an iGEM alumni, you can definitely be part of the After iGEM network. And After iGEM network is composed of people who've been through 1 year of the competition and just want to help the iGEM community at large. So that the education committee, the human practices committee, we have various committees as part of After iGEM, and including various programs like the ambassador program or the delegate program, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are not an alumni of iGEM, I've not been through the system, but extremely interested in iGEM, one of the ways can be to get involved with your local iGEM teams. So maybe be their mentor, maybe be their if PI in the in the few coming years. So that's one way. Or the second thing is being part of the Indian leagues. So that's one of the new programs that we're launching this year specifically for India and to build the ecosystem of synthetic biology within India. And we are genuinely looking for anybody who's interested in synbio, who's interested in biology in general, and just wants to be a part of this infrastructure and ecosystem of biology. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for the item Indian leaks because that might be really, really helpful and useful.
Yeah, so for this iGEM Indian League, it's for high school students as well, right? You started a program.
Yes. So I can just quickly describe what the leagues are.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
it's basically, as I said, to build sustainable infrastructure of biology within India. So we have three programs. We have the high school program, the undergraduate program, and the educator training program. So for high school students, we actually have like a month-long workshop where we teach all, and that culminates in a mini SynBio competition. For undergraduate students, we have training. We actually train you all to create your own synthetic biology project, train you all in modeling, train you all in how to create a project and make your team. And
Mhm.
after that, there's a competition season where you all will compete. But this is different from the iGEM global competition. So the global is different, and the league SynBio competition is different, and they work in synergy.
Yeah.
And finally, for educator training, we actually have workshops where we train educators who want to be mentors and build the talent pipeline of synthetic biology and biology in India. So we have certificate courses for educators from varied backgrounds who can now go on to either mentor teams or actually have SynBio workshops in their own institutions. So, as I said, we're just trying to build that whole ecosystem in our country.
And it all sounds so exciting. I mean, if it really takes off, it will definitely help to build this ecosystem of synthetic biology in India. I mean,
Absolutely. So if any of y'all are interested in being part of that, definitely again just reach out to me and I'll be happy to talk to you all.
it's very it's very great to have you here at the server then. Okay. So you talked about your plans for expanding iGEM in India and especially for the high school students. So, what are your plans and like, have you thought about how can high school students actually take part in like this iGEM competition? Like their labs and all are not as uh, facilitated as compared to the undergrads. So, is there any special criteria for them or something in iGEM?
So you're talking with respect to IGEM global competition or?
Yeah, I mean both like what you have
Oh,
thought and
okay.
that's
So the
great.
global competition for a high school team has pretty much the same guidelines and medal criteria as it is for an undergraduate team. So if you want to participate in the iGEM global competition, you will be expected to have wet lab skills and have a wet lab component in your project.
Mhm.
But so in that, which as I said is a huge learning curve for a high school team. With respect to the leagues, we are planning on having a decentralized approach to wet labs. So we will be like hopefully having wet lab kits that high schoolers can now use and sit at home and isolate DNA maybe, or have like a handheld centrifuge to learn like the basic principles that can help them get the thought process started on how this will translate to a lab skill. So maybe our whole idea is you start micro, but then you envision macro. So
Yeah.
that's an approach that the leagues would sort of take. So depending on where you stand, how what access to what resources you have, you can participate in both, and the different learning curves that are there and different outcomes for each of the programs.
Yeah, so it's like it's the idea is to get everyone to be excited about this, right?
Definitely, and make
Everyone
it
and
as
anyone.
accessible as possible.
Yeah, exactly. That is so cool. And also, I would like to know more about the like the various initiatives for like the iGEM Global. Like there's this recently happening. There was this Russian league. There was a design league. Sorry. That happened, and there are the other like there are the small groups of events that are happening around iGEM, and like throughout the iGEM journey, the iGEM headquarters themselves have a lot of events like the iGEM TV and all these initiatives that are happening. So, like, what can you elaborate more on them, and how do they facilitate iGEMers?
Oh, definitely. So the After iGEM network has a bunch of initiatives that we sort of have. So ambassadors have different initiatives such as Coffee with Ambassadors, or the workshop series that we had before. And we have a peer support network that's happening on the site. So a lot of initiatives that the ambassadors have. That are through After iGEM. And apart from that, we also have a great outreach team that has, as Shubhra mentioned, iGEM TV, the iGEM Digest, which is also really, really amazing.
Yeah.
And the Design League is the Latin American version of our Indian leagues. So
Mhm.
Design Leagues is only for LATAM. But
Okay.
apart from that, there are several other programs, like I mentioned, the ambassador program, and just getting into After iGEM itself. There are different committees you can be part of, and subsequently different programs that you can run. So each committee has its own branches and programs that it's running.
That's that sounds so cool. Like even after become like after going through the whole iGEM journey yourself, you can be a part of iGEM.
So this is
So
just the beginning. So your iGEM project is just the beginning of your iGEM journey.
yeah, exactly. That sounds so good. Also, how are some of the ways that teams can get funding for their ideas? Like, what do you suggest as an ambassador?
So some of the ways you can go are crowdfunding. That's a great avenue. Next is to approach your alumni departments and your institution itself. That's another thing y'all can explore. And another way I would suggest is, if you've already narrowed down on your project and you know what you're working on, look for companies with CSR initiatives for that. So in case you're working on environment, there's several private companies that have environmental grants. Definitely go for that. Another thing is the IBEC. Oh, and this is like the biggest thing. So the Department of Biotechnology hosts an annual IBEC competition, and that gives almost 10 lakhs to five selected teams. So you will have to detail out your entire project, what you're working on, submit your proposal to DBT, and then if you're selected, you will be given funding from the Department of Biotechnology. So that's another great way to get funding. Apart from that, just approaching previous sponsors such as Promega, New England Biolabs. There are a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of sponsors that you can see who have already funded previous teams, who already know about iGEM and what it stands for. And those are, again, ways you can approach people for funding.
Yeah, and iGEM itself also has a lot of sponsors, right?
Definitely. So iGEM has so many grant opportunities, like the impact grant that was just released. There's an environment and conservation grant that's also there. So there are a lot of grants that iGEM itself has throughout the competition season that teams can apply for.
Yeah, that, that sounds so great. Okay. So, according to you, what makes iGEM experience an irreplaceable one for researchers around the world?
I think for me, it's the collaborative nature, like just having access to so many people to talk to, and that really just broadens your horizons and your perspective. So what you thought was an, like an obscure image of what a practicing scientist actually looks like is completely changed after you go through
Yeah.
this project. And secondly, I think just being able to see a project from start to finish, how many times do you have that opportunity, to think of every different aspect of a project and its nuances, and put it together, and at the end of the day maybe have something that can be implemented in the market.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, so I think that everyone like should be excited about iGEM, especially if you're an life sciences enthusiast,
Absolutely.
and if you're a current undergraduate or graduate person from from life sciences. So it will be a great. It's a great exposure actually for me personally. Also, it is going on,
Absolutely.
and yeah. So, okay. So, anything else that you want to add for our speakers, like something that we missed upon and you want to really?
um I think we covered everything, but if anybody has any questions, I can answer them, and maybe we can touch upon more points that way.
Yeah, sure. So, if the audience has any questions, you can raise your hands.
Have some questions.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was use Shubhra introduced that like you initiated the team from your which campus. So how was the experience like to start the iGEM team for the first time from your campus? And was it initiated from the faculty side or is it from student side?
So this was initiated from the students. So we sort of really wanted to participate, and we've tried. We tried for like I think 3 years, and finally it happened in my third year. And the thing I found most uh, memorable about the process was that everyone went through the same learning curve together. So we all started from scratch, and we had to like learn what to do. And we had a great mentor. So Varsha Jaisimha, who was also an ex IGEM ambassador and now is an after IGEM coordinator. So she was our team mentor, and without her I don't think it would have been possible. So she sort of guided us through the entire process. But yeah, again, knowing what hypothesis driven research is and just doing independent research was such a learning experience for all of us, and the whole team became really close. So we started doing things like playing Secret Santa, despite all of us being online and things like that. So there's so many bonding experiences that we had throughout the project itself that was so memorable. So definitely it's hard at times, but I would say that's when you keep pushing on to just to completion, because the learning that you get afterwards is immeasurable.
And one of the points probably missed during the discussion is how is iGEM teams rewarded, and how do you know, or how far, like how do you know that you are a winner, or how your efforts are appreciated by the iGEM competition?
Okay, this is a good question. So iGEM is not a how do you say, a traditional competition. So what you have is a bunch of medal criterias. So any team that can show that they have met these criteria and can convince the judges that they have met them is eligible for a medal. So you have bronze medal criteria, silver medal criteria, and gold medal criteria. So if you meet each medal's criteria and you have shown without a doubt that you have actually gone above and beyond meeting this criteria, you are automatically eligible to get a medal. Apart from that, iGEM has several special prizes. So if you've done outstanding work in, say, software, or building a composite part, or building a new part to the registry, adding a new part to the registry, human practices, education and outreach. So there's several special prizes that you can also win for exemplary work in one area of your project. And finally, three teams are sort of nominated for the best the best team prize. So you have the grand prize winner, the first runner up, and the second runner up. So these are the different awards that you can sort of get. But as I said before, iGEM is so beautifully designed that it all depends on your project and up to what level you're able to take it and think about it. So even if you're not able to actually do it because of different circumstances, if you've shown that you've thought about all aspects of your project and documented that, that in itself is a great thing to sort of show to the judges and the judging committee.
As a follow-up to that, how competitive are Indian teams with respect to the other teams in the rest of the world having participated in iGEM? And what do you think something that Indian teams or the infrastructure on the India side could do better that we do good in iGEM?
Honestly, the Indian teams are right up there, consistently winning gold medals at iGEM. My team won two special prizes. We actually won the best software as well as best composite part. So it's definitely possible for for Indian teams, and we've shown it time and again that Indian teams are definitely up there when it comes to the quality of projects that are being put out. But the level of collaborations and the type of collaborations have also tremendously increased over the few years. But yeah, we're hoping for one of the Indian teams to actually win the grand prize very, very soon, hopefully. So let's keep our fingers crossed that that happens really soon. But that being said, the Indian teams definitely can hold their own at the international stage.
And lastly, if I am from a team, like if I'm from a college which has never started an iGEM team, of course, if you see in Indian colleges like ISS, IITs, probably BITS is also having like a good infrastructure. But the teams which are like say limited, like if I want to have a team, but my college lacks infrastructure, is it still possible through some collaboration that I could participate, or how could we prepare ourselves for iGEM? How is it possible?
I think absolutely it's possible because, as I said before, there's a criteria called partnership. So if you can actually work really closely with another team, and there will be some areas that your team is really, really good at that can help out in a partnership with other teams. So in case you lack certain resources for running certain experiments, definitely collaborations and partnerships will come in handy. And the best part is it's a global community, so you can have collaborations across the world, and that definitely increases your opportunities and also the type of collaborations that you have. And again, as I said, another thing is to just show that you have thought about different facets of your project. So sometimes it's not possible to actually conduct and show a proof of concept of such of your project sometimes. But again, iGEM encourages you to just think about it and say, okay, in the future, this is how I would verify my claims, or this is how I have planned out all my experiments. So that's called engineering success. How do you plan out what your hypothesis is and test it out? So that's another thing that you can definitely use to your advantage.
One last question. So, is there a participation fee for iGEM? And if it is, how much is it?
Yes, so iGEM does have a registration fee. I think Shubhra will be the best person to answer this for the 2021 cycle.
So we do have like there is a registration fee, and then there is a registration fee for the giant jamboree. So so I think that the first fee was around $2,500 or so, and for the jamboree fee, it's also kind of the same amount. It's $2,000. So all in all, you need to have about like a sponsor, like a good sponsorship, so that you can cover both these registration fees and like other criteria. The other thing would be to just have the like the other things that you want for your project for the wet lab and all these things. So that's why sponsorship is really important if you can get one either from your institute or from the various other sponsors that iGEM has. So yeah, there is a
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
yeah. Thank you, Rama. Are there any more questions from anyone else?